Guys, welcome. Hey, okay, there we go. Helping me out. So, guys, welcome back to the Men's Journal Everyday Warrior. I'm with Sean Gleason, the CEO of PBR. Man, I've got to say right off the bat, you must be wildly proud to be the CEO of this organization and represent so many good Americans that are value-based. Every time I'm around like this crowd, I get excited. And it gives me faith in that there's a better way. So, Sean, give us a little bit of your background leading to the PBR, because I know you've been in sports for quite a while.
Yeah, actually, I started my career in the music business. Ran a BMG distributed record label out of Seattle, dating myself, but 30-ish years ago. The music industry was changing. I decided I wanted to go into computer games and ran the Sierra Sports division of Sierra Online, where we made NASCAR racing and Trophy Bass and some more traditional sports games. And I made a bull riding computer game and met the 20 guys that started the PBR and Randy Bernard. And a couple years later, I'm like, that looks like a lot more fun. I'm going to join those guys. So
the very history, most people don't know that at the PBR, were 20 riders who felt like they weren't making enough money because they weren't.
Right.
Who were
they were traveling up and down the road. They were going broke, basically trying to be a professional, and they thought there was a better way.
But I use the word dirt poor, and they came together and said, we can build a better organization.
Yep.
I mean, that is entrepreneurship at its finest.
It's a great American entrepreneurial story about bull riders that decided to build a business, and here we are 30 years later and setting records and selling out Madison Square Garden and LA and everywhere in between. And the founders never envisioned, none of us did, to be honest. I've been with PBR 23 of the 30 years, and none of us really thought we could get it to the level that we're at today. It was just one brick at a time. It's like, hey, maybe we can go to Madison Square Garden, and then 13, 14 years later, you're still there and selling out the place. And one of my favorite photos of all time was the marquee that said "sold out tonight" at 4:00 in the afternoon at Madison Square Garden.
Sorry, you said one brick at a time. We've got a company, ADA, which is one step at a time. How do you climb a mountain? Love it. Love the mantra, and a lot of people are losing sight of delayed gratification versus instant gratification. If this wasn't the goal, how did you guys approach it from the onset? Let's do the right thing, stick to our values, see where it goes.
I mean, at the product level, the thing that still sits with me today is it's about those bull riders that are pouring it out on the dirt. My job is to make them as much money as I can make them. Got a lot of people that expect me to deliver results and growth and all the other stuff, but at its core, when you know these guys and what they go through, you just want to put more money in their pocket, and to do that, we've got to grow the business. So, but those guys, they decided that the formula was to put the best bull riders on the best bulls, week in and week out, and take it to places that don't traditionally see rodeo or Western sports. And here we are, 30 years later.
So let's talk about this. Again, as I told Andrew in our earlier interview, it seemed like the sport is growing of what was traditionally, those in California or New York, and I'm a Californian, that's a flyover state Western thing. But now, having my first foray was the Austin Gamblers, I'm in love with again the individuals because of the values of the organization. But how do you think you guys have spread outside of the traditional demographic of sort of that Western culture?
One fan at a time. As much as I'd like it to be bottled up in some formula, which I've been trying for 23 years to figure out how you really tap into the mainstream psyche and just everything happens. We literally, I always tell my staff that we push a boulder up a hill to educate people and tell them how much fun they're going to have, and because most people, they start out and they think what you just said, it's not for them. They're like, that's not for me. Dirt sports, animals, cowboys, no touch points. So they're like, that's not for me. And then they give us trial, they come to an event, they tune in on TV, and they're fans for life because it's not what they expected it to be. And so we're constantly pushing this boulder up the hill, and if you let go of it for half a second, it rolls right back over the top of you. And in the last 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 years, right before COVID hit, I could feel that boulder getting lighter and lighter, meaning that, you know, that we were starting to penetrate in outside of the message that we delivered through an ad or talking to somebody. It started to be word of mouth and more people talking about the PBR, you discovering it and sharing it with the world in a podcast. And so, you know, that's basically what we do. We put on a great product. The message is very clearly value driven, that, you know, you better respect your elders and you better have some love for this country, and because we're not gonna compromise those values. And it resonates. More people feel that way than the media might have you believe these days. So,
and I've said it, and for anyone who has not attended a PBR event, there is a positivity. No one complains, especially the riders who are all hurt stepping into the World Finals.
Yeah.
As Andrew put it, everyone's limping at this point of the, but they keep on fighting. And I know you've seen some, we could say, feats of guys that you thought were probably done for the season that just fight back and end up in the finals.
yeah, we've had guys put spurs in the cast on their broken legs so that they can keep riding. I mean, you know, this is a different breed of athlete. And it's, you know, they don't want it any other way. Some people would be critical when I say this and say, oh my God, that's terrible, but they don't get paid if they don't ride. It's a meritocracy of the ultimate in sports, because they're independent contractors. They earn their way to this tour, but if they don't ride, they go home with nothing. But here's how bull riders think. We used to have an appearance fee that we'd pay everybody to help out with travel expenses, because they're on their own dime,
Yes.
getting to and from the events. And they voted a couple of years ago to get rid of it and put it in the prize pool. And you know, it's just that mentality of pay me when I do my job and pay me well, but if I don't do my job, it's on me. And not a lot of people in this world today.
You're going where I was going to take that.
It's just not a lot of people in this take responsibility for their own actions and their own performance and their own everything. They want to blame it on somebody else.
It's a victimhood epidemic and what we say a decline in personal responsibility. When they took that vote to get rid of the appearance fee, was it almost unanimous?
It was unanimous. Well, maybe, I think there might have been a couple guys, but you know, those guys may have been motivated by, I couldn't pay my airline flight, which I understand. And you know, but we launched a PBR team series. You were exposed at the Austin Gamblers. And like I said, my job is to make sure they all make more money, not just the top guys. And so the things we've done now, you can be a professional athlete. If you're in the top 40 or 50 guys in the world, you're going to make at least $1 million in your career. And the top guys are going to make $10 million coming up pretty quick. So it's not like they're going broke doing this anymore. But it's, you know, but it's still a meritocracy. It's still, if you don't ride your bulls, you do not get paid.
But beyond the prize money, it seems like now you've got sponsors coming out of the woodworks.
Sponsors are fantastic, and they make, they're the lifeblood of the sport. And so yeah, a lot of guys have great sponsorship deals, but that just gives them a foundation to be a professional. And so the more these guys can make, the better we are as a sport, the better the brand is, and everything that I'm responsible for. The more money that the bull riders can make, the better we are, because it just means that the system's working and that people are responding, and we owe it all to our fans and our sponsors, and they make the world go round.
Absolutely, 100%. For let's say a family that comes from a non-Western background that attends one of the PBR events, what's the most common thing you hear, a day after?
The most common thing, and I always say, if I had $1, every time somebody came up, grabbed me by the shoulders, shook me, and said, "That was so incredible! It was nothing like I thought it was going to be." And I just, at that point, I'm like, 23 years I've been trying to tell you to come out. You know, why did it take you this long? But it's really, it's so rewarding when somebody new comes into the sport, enjoys themselves at an event like no other, and walks out thinking, man, I'm a fan. I'm a fan for life. Because I always say, we hook them with the spectacle. So when we get people to try, it's like, oh, crazy bull riders, people probably come to these events at times and think that, these guys are rolling in the pickup, throw the empty beer can in the back of the truck, grab another one, and say, hold this while I go do this thing, and it's not the case. They're athletes, they're hardworking young men that pour it out on the dirt week in and week out. And so when somebody discovers that, that's still the reward that means the most to me, is when somebody does come up and goes, I didn't expect to be as entertained as I was. I didn't expect to love it so much.
There's a lot of preconceived notions and assumptions that naturally come from Hollywood painting bull riders in a certain way. It's hey, coming from the SEAL community and special operations, they do the same thing, never archetyping the guys for how smart they are, how diligent they are. But so you guys have you've got a strong relationship with Endeavor.
They own us.
Yes,
very strong relationship.
You've stood up the team series, which took a individual sport, now brought the team component to it, and just watching those guys meld from the the Cowboys to the Gamblers, it was awesome watching that. Where do you go from here? What's the next step?
Well, the launch of the team series was a many-year process to really get to the point we could make that happen. COVID actually helped it happen.
Because you had time to plan.
We had time to plan. We had to make adjustments, obviously. We're the last sport in America to have an event. We were the first one back. But, we were working hard to keep everybody on the road, but it was a different time and place, and we couldn't play Madison Square Garden, and we couldn't play some of the bigger venues. So it gave us some time to map it out and plan it. And then when we had to move the finals in 2020, the governor of Nevada was afraid of his own shadow, let alone COVID. Strung us out, and 6 weeks before the World Finals, he had been telling us that he thought we'd be fine. And 6 weeks before the World Finals, he told us, no, you can't have your event. And so we called the state of Texas. I called Governor Abbott's office. And in 6 weeks, we managed to put on the finals at AT&T Stadium. And so it was a massive undertaking. But one of the first things they asked was, is this a one-year deal, or can we talk about the future? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, we can talk about the future. So gave us that window to change the World Finals where we're at right now and move it to Texas, and then open up the window for teams. And it's been a monumental shift, but that is really now bringing all of those to full fruition is the mission.
For the listeners, if you're not getting that, you reap what you sow. So think carefully about your decisions. Bad policies lead to bad outcomes, but God bless Texas. That's why I'm a Californian that moved here. So everyone is excited for this weekend. I know the top rider just suffered an injury.
Yep.
So he's out. I'm sure you are wary of making predictions.
I'll make a prediction.
Good, let me hear it.
The GOAT, Jose Vitor Leme. It's going to be hard to beat him. He's just, when he's healthy, that kid rides bulls like nobody's ever seen before. And, it's going to be really, really hard to beat him. But I know Dalton Castle and Cooper Davis and those guys, they're in, man, I'm seeing a fire burning in some guys this year that I've never seen before, because it really is that close coming into the World Finals. There's so many points up, and there's, it can go any way, but man, Jose he's got Velcro on his ass. It's hard to get him off.
He's laser. He's like a laser. Oh. And Will and I had an opportunity to go to his ranch, interview him out there, and just he is
the most committed.
Besides his family, he's got one focus, and that is to be the very best in the world.
Yeah, I would put him not just in bull riding, in any sport. He is one of the most focused competitors that I've ever seen. Maybe you could put a Tom Brady, and I'm a Dolphins fan. I don't like Tom Brady. But, you can put a Tom Brady in that category, or some others. But in terms of just their focus and their commitment to be the best at what they're doing, man, he's got a fire that I love it.
I'm actually interviewing the GOAT on Monday, not Tom Brady, Kelly Slater. But that's my GOAT. And I want to end this with, for someone who's following Men's Journal but never followed PBR, can you tell me about maybe those one or two riders that you think just encapsulate the sport? Like just the way they live their lives just brings.
You know, honestly, there isn't one or two. There's 100 of them.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, they're all young men, 18 to 20 something young men. So they have fun. They go out and get in a little trouble here and there, but on the whole, I mean, they're so respectful, value driven, like they're cowboys. You know, and we ran a campaign called Be Cowboy, and the entire message was it doesn't matter where you live, what you drive, how what you wear, what you chew. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you wear the cowboy hat or not. It's about how you live your life. If you live it with honesty, integrity, hard work, commitment, respect for others, then you damn well should be a cowboy, because that's how we live our lives.
That's America, isn't it? That's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Even overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan, if some Afghani had a little bit of English, you say, yeah, cowboy, huh? Yeah. Like, yes,
Yes,
I am a cowboy from San Francisco. You're damn right. Cowboy is about a mindset. Well, Sean, I know you've got a full 2 weeks. It's going to be exciting. Congratulations on what you guys have built. The ride. I think this is going to probably.
Fantastic. I know I'm a little biased.
So you've seen the whole series?
Oh yeah, no, I'm one of the executive producers of the series, but
as you should be.
I've watched all of the others, and I'm not going to name them. I've watched all the other series about other sports, and most of them are great. This is a different level of greatness around our sport because it's focusing on these humans and these athletes that resonate so well on those core value messages and hard work and commitment. And, there's so much drama in and around our sport that nothing had to be invented or sensationalized to really tell a compelling story from beginning to end in those 8 episodes. It's literally fantastic.
And getting to know Zeke Mitchell, I'm excited. Well, I'm looking forward to watching this because I know he suffered some tragedy during the season, but a testament to your riders.
He did, yeah. We
his
lost cousin
through.
Ouncey during the shooting of that, and Ouncey was a great kid. Loved him. He was, he was starting to crack into the top 35. He never quite made it on a regular basis, but that kid was really special. And Zeke's just one of those guys that. I love him and I hate him. Depends on the day.
If I have to make a prediction, Zeke will be in Hollywood before we know it.
Yeah,
He's just got that personality.
Well, he needs to win a world championship
first,
before he starts heading out to Hollywood.
Well, Sean, I can't thank you enough, man, for joining us. And guys, we'll see you again. Thanks, brother. All right, guys, continuing on with the PBR World Finals here. I've got Andrew Giangola, right? Did I get that close?
Well, technically it's Giangola.
Giangola.
But I go with Giangola because it's easier to pronounce.
Is that Italian? What is it?
Italiano. Actually, it's Giancola initially, but at Ellis Island, they changed the C into a G, and Grandpa G was happy to be here, and he took it.
So, funny enough, we came across Treasure Island, where a bunch of Italians. My name is Sorelli. It's actually pronounced Sarai. But it got, we say, Americanized, and now it's Sorelli.
Whatever works.
We're pushovers.
Now, the coolest part was my first PR job was at Pepsi-Cola. So I could have pitched reporters, it's Andrew Giangola from Pepsi-Cola.
Yeah.
I didn't have that option.
Well, Andrew, I'm excited to have you on because we were going to be talking to all the riders. And for everyone, Andrew is the author of Love and Try. He won a major Western Heritage Award for the book, but the significance behind that is, one, you didn't realize how big that is within the Western world, and somebody who's a little unknown by the name of John Wayne also won that award.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's a trophy of a cowboy on a horse, a big bronze trophy, and I got to think I'm the only person in Brooklyn with a Wrangler, so it's cool.
Oh, you're from New York?
Yeah, live in
Oh,
Brooklyn.
we don't like your kind. Man. I'm kidding. I'm from California, man.
But I didn't even know that there were the Cowboy Oscars, right? So
Yeah.
being a New Yorker, and it was so cool. It's a big deal. They have a red carpet. We met Lou Diamond Phillips and did the carpet. My wife Malvina and I, and I'm a PR guy. I'm the guy that forgets to order the carpet. And here they are, interviewing me for the first time. Who the hell wants to hear from me? But.
So you've got a lot of, again, PR, you've got a lot of experience, specifically with the WWE, NASCAR, and now PBR.
Well, WWE is an acquisition by our parent company that hasn't cleared yet. So
With
the regulators out there.
With UFC, correct?
With Endeavor is the parent company.
Yes.
And PBR is one of Endeavor's holdings, as
Yes.
well as UFC. So they acquired PBR first and then acquired UFC to build this giant sports platform.
In the WWE UFC combination is going to be deadly. That's
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
interesting to watch.
Rumor is we're going to script the Bulls, but no, I'm kidding.
So, what is it? And let me actually preface this. I was talking to Casey, who set this all up. Why I love coming, and I worked with the Austin Gamblers last year, as sort of team building, and really got fascinated with these professional bull riders. And I just had Wyatt Rogers on, and I said, you know why I love talking to you guys? None of you ever complain. You guys go through hell. You're all injured. You get up early. You make no excuses. You just keep driving forward, and you play hurt. What is it about this sport that Americans are overlooking? Because this has now become, a sport of, I hate to say it, like flyover states.
Yeah.
And Americans in California or New York City know nothing about bull riding.
It's such a great observation. One of the stories is on Chase Outlaw. Exploded his face in 30 places. And basically when he wakes up in the hospital, his first question is, when can I get back on a bull? And you see that over and over and over again. But the common observation is that bull riders are crazy, right? To mount an 1,800-pound muscle-ripped bull that is part roller coaster, part roadside bomb sounds insane, right? But when you think about it, to do what you want, to pursue your dreams, even when it means getting hurt, to go after what seems so outlandish, but to do it because it's in your heart and what you dream for, that's not crazy, that's freedom. And I tried to tell the story of the bull riders from that perspective. Of course, you're going to say they're probably a little bit crazy too.
Oh, they're crazy. I don't think there's any other way you can. People think what we did for a living in the SEAL teams was crazy, but we were very calculated about how we approached our missions, and we always secured success before we left, as we like to say, the wire. These guys are getting on a wild variable known as a 1,500-pound bull, if not more. You can't account for that.
Unpredictable. And some of the most dangerous, some of the biggest injuries are in the bucking chute. So that steel, it's coffin shaped as I described it. In the book.
Wyatt Rogers just showed what it did to his leg.
Chute.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the stories in the book is Dr. Tandy Freeman, our medical doctor, who operates a quasi-emergency room in the bowels of the arena. And he says he treats injuries that are akin to like a hospital off an icy freeway on a New Year's Eve. I mean, these are punctured lungs and lacerated kidneys and all kinds of internal injuries that they treat. And like you said, the guys do it again and again. And for most people, that's unfathomable. If you try something the first time these guys got on a bull, there's no way they made the 8 seconds. They got thrown and tossed and maybe stomped or crawled away uninjured. But 99.9% of the people, I think, would say, okay, I tried it, I've had enough. These guys, they all wanted to get back on and conquer that bull and be bull riders. And it's a gene, I think, that a lot of people don't have. And I tried to figure out the why, the proproverbial why.
And I'm
in
going
love
there.
and try.
You know,
I don't know.
Is it pride?
I just threw freedom at you, and you weren't.
No. I love the freedom of, but what do you? So let's archetype this, because I do have a few questions from all the research you've done. If you had to archetype, you take the top 30 in the world. What are the commonalities amongst them? It's like just none of them quit.
Yeah.
They'll play hurt.
Yeah.
But their version of playing hurt is much different than any other professional sport.
Especially this time of year. We're going into World Finals this weekend. Everybody's banged up. You see at the end of the night, I don't think you see a guy who's not limping out of the arena. Everybody's got their bumps and bruises. But to your question, it's fascinating. I'd want to think more on that. I mean, it sounds cliche-ish, but it's the grit, the heart, the determination. I call the book Love and Try because that's the lens I tried to tell it through. So love is what? It's the passion for what you do. It's the love for what you do. It's the love of the people around you. It's the love of the animals in the sport, which is an important component, which we can get to as a sidebar. And then try is, as J.B. Mooney put it, and J.B. wrote the foreword, just tremendous having him in the book, holding onto that bull rope until your head hits the ground. So those are the components that I but there's so much more, but I thought Love and Try was really the lens, but not just the bull riders, the stock contractors, the bull fighters, the crew. We were on the front page of the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday this week with a story about the PBR crew who transformed these hockey and basketball arenas into bull riding meccas, bringing in the bulls and the steel and the dirt, and then breaking it down and going to the next city. It's the Love and Try pervades the entire sport.
And their fan base is loyal. And their fan base is actually growing now into, again, demographics you wouldn't think that traditionally people would follow bull riding.
Yeah, a lot of women, probably not surprising, right? A lot of women, but it's seen as a male-dominated sport. But you get families because what's interesting about it, and I'm from New York, right? I ride a subway, not a horse, and in fact, as a kid. Remember the coin-operated horses outside the barbershop?
Yeah, of course.
I got bucked off that horse. So. I don't know. That might have happened.
I'm sure that's happened a lot.
But you just the stories and what goes on in the sport is incredible to try to capture.
Before we get to the actual bulls, and of course, there's a lot of misperceptions. People make assumptions and then claim animal abuse. Before we get there, the spouses and the loved ones, and I know you talk to a lot of them. And let me preface this. People always ask, like, well, what's it like to go to war? And I said, when you're with 40 of your brothers, that's where you want to be. But don't you want to be with their families? Yes, of course. But, there's this selfish nature to us that even though our families are scared, we're still going regardless of that.
Yeah.
For the wives and the families, what did you really gain from them? I mean, that's just got to be, there's nothing they can do in the stands. That's got to be.
Well, spoiler alert, I ended Love and Try with a scene of Cooper Davis, one of the toughest bull riders, 2016 world champion, out at dinner after a bull riding with his son Mac on his lap. And you got Chase Outlaw and all the madness and craziness surrounding, this Tasmanian devil meets Yosemite Sam, So you got Chase, Gage Gaze next to me. We went out for sushi, so if you ever want a great scene, go out for sushi with bull riders. Gage Gaze asking for ketchup. They don't have ketchup. Go get it. Send them to the Walmart. There's no Walmarts out where we were. So this whole scene, and Mac is on Cooper's lap the whole time, sleeping peacefully. And I ended the book that way because that notion of family, like here's a bull rider, one of the toughest guys in the world, and he's being a great dad. So it was cool.
The values, as we talk about traditional American values, it seems to be alive and well. And let's not, I'm never going to paint anyone in rose-colored glasses that they're the perfect humans, but talking to guys like Zeke and Jose and Wyatt and Dakota, and the list goes on, and great coaches like Michael, I'm blanking. Casey, help me out.
Gaffney.
You had one? I mean, just values are alive and well within this culture.
Yeah. And by the way, any PBR fans watching this, watch Mike's interview with Gaffney.
Oh.
I learned so much about him, and it was a great interview, one of the best interviews.
Oh, yeah. And I call him Coach from now on.
Coach of the Austin Gamblers. Yeah.
Because
I'm sorry,
he's a coach in life. It's just, they're very faith-based. They're very family-oriented.
Yeah.
They're very value-based.
Yeah. And I didn't try to set out and write a book for the Christian bookshelves or anything like that, but faith, an abiding, important love of God, or whether you call it a higher power, pervades the stories. I mean, so many of them, J.W. and Leanne Hart, stock contractors who Leanne had 13 miscarriages. And what did? They started adopting and adopted child after child after child. And Leanne tells her faith-based story in that story. You have Frank Newsom, a bullfighter, who's at the top of his craft and got addicted to painkillers and finds himself during World Finals in a jail cell, completely hitting rock bottom. And he found Christ, and that was his path to redemption. So it's stories of faith and redemption. And again, I didn't set out to find that, but in talking to them and getting into the stories, you just find that's what's helped them, and that's been their compass, and that's helped save them in some respects.
Now, bucking bulls. Again, having very little knowledge of pro bull riding and coming in, I didn't realize these bucking bulls basically live better than most humans. I mean, they're fed, they're tended to, they're cared. And I know some organizations consider it animal abuse. What did you find out about the...
Yeah, and this ties into your family question as well. I started off Love and Try with the story of Jerome and Tiffany Davis. So Jerome is at the top of the sport. He's one of the 20 founders of the sport,
Yes.
And he was the youngest one. So he said, I was with my Elvises. If these guys told me to rob a bank, I'd go rob a bank. What they asked him for was $1,000. So 20 guys broke away from the rodeo, put in 1,000 each. Jerome didn't have it. He said he had 500. He gave the 500, and he knew he could go out to California and ride a few bulls that weekend. He won the event and gave the rest of the money in. So Jerome becomes the founder of the PBR. A couple years later, he's at an event. He was winning the world and bucked off the bull, bad dismount, and pile drives into the ground, like diving into a swimming pool with no water in it. In the hospital, the doctor dismissively looks at Tiffany, his fiancée, and says to Jerome's mother, oh, she'll never stay with him. Fast forward 20 some odd years later, they're married, they're raising bucking bulls, they're in the PBR. And I started that for a couple reasons. Because one, I think Jerome and Tiffany are really the heart of the sport. They represent Love and Try, but also the notion of animal care. And nobody's better at talking about it than Tiffany. And they do tours on their ranch in North Carolina. And I covered that from the perspective of bringing out the truth, which is these are bulls bred to buck, right? They're in their in their bloodlines. They get great care and treatment. First thing in the morning, Tiffany feeds and waters the bulls. The last thing she does at night, they massage them. Some of the stock contractors have like electrotherapy. Compare that, and here's the other thing. They work 8 seconds a weekend. The bull's testicles are not tied up or touched or agitated. That's all lies and ridiculousness. They retire to stud, and then they die a natural death on a ranch at 15 years old. The animal activists want to ban PBR. So at 3 years old, that means every male bovine, basically, that doesn't make it into the PBR, gets a bolt in the head and goes off to a slaughterhouse at 3 years old.
Yes.
If you love animals, bolt in the head, die a natural death at 15 years old on a ranch. So trying to bring out that through their story, but the ridiculousness of the animal activists' arguments, and it's with lies and disinformation. The bulls are not shocked or tortured. If you bring a shock device into the bucking chutes, you will be banned from the sport. And yet they're handing out literature that we shock the bulls to get them to compete. It's a lie. So we're out there, and I tried to disabuse people of that through storytelling versus getting on a pulpit and preaching about it. So Tiffany and Jerome really bring that out.
And I love that. And again, there's a lot of misinformation, and life is full of hypocrisies where we preach one thing, but it counteracts something else. I'm going to let you finish this out. For somebody who you run into and you're passionate about PBR, clearly you've developed a love, and they're saying, yeah, I'm just not interested. I don't want to give it a chance. What's the one story you would tell them?
I hate to use research or anything like that, but one thing I'd like to tell people is, I've been doing this 7 years now, and for people who have come and then you catch up with them afterwards, not a single one has ever said, that really sucked, or it was boring, or everybody likes it in a different way. You might love the entertainer on the dirt, Flint Rasmussen. I have a friend in New York who buys tickets because his son loves the clown, loves Flint. And there's a story on Flint in here. Others root for the animal athletes, root for the bulls. About half of our merchandise is for the bulls. So they come and they root for the bulls. Others, you find a cowboy, you like something about him, you like his story, you might like the way he looks, and you follow them and get into the sport that way. So what I would tell people is come see it, because the perceptions you have, it's a dirt sport, it's dirty, it's not for me, check it out, be curious, because everybody loves it. It's a great production. There's the thrilling, epic 8-second bull rides, the most exciting 8 seconds in sports, but then around that, it's wrapped in like a rock show atmosphere. And it's not country music, really. It's AC/DC, it's Led Zeppelin, it's a lot of Bon Jovi lately, and it's just a great production. And it's unique in that it's a sports entertainment hybrid.
Yes.
It's a sport, but it's also like a Broadway show. And, I'm a PR guy, and a lot of exhaust gets spewed from the PR guys. But I say, don't take it from the PR guy. Take it from fans who go and love it, and you'll fall in love with it. And I came at it as a stranger in a strange land, and fell in love with it myself. And that's the reason why I wrote the book, is because I thought, I want to tell this story. There's people like me in New York City who have no idea about this, and I wanted to bring that out.
It's one thing to fall in love. It's another thing to write a book. And I would say you're not the only one. I'm not going to write a book about it, but for a kid from California who never touched the sport, just even the fact of getting to talk to these professionals, these young professionals, and the fact that I call everyone, regardless of age, sir or ma'am, and they are all sir or ma'am, and just the kindness, the respect, and the humility amongst these world famous bull riders and how they treat people, just pulled me in.
Well, that's common also to Navy SEALs, and thank you. I wanted to say it up front. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for paying your taxes.
We've done for your country. Yeah.
Thank you for funding our fun trips.
But there's a couple of teams in the team series. The new team series kicks off in July. 8 teams, 5-on-5 bull riding games. Very exciting. It takes our sport to the next level. So you have the individual competition that culminates this weekend in Fort Worth for the individual championship, and then we go to a team series. Couple of the teams have aligned with Navy SEALs. The Carolina Cowboys brought some SEALs out for training. The Texas Rattlers have aligned with an assistant coach. By the way, the coach got the job by winning an arm wrestle, and the loser was hired as well.
Yes.
But again, a PBR stud. That's for like book 2, and I bet you that's not in the HR handbook.
Yes.
To have like an arm wrestle. So we brought in SEALs and the Austin Gamblers as well. Have used SEALs. But I think as I think about it, and I started to try to write about it, I need to experience it more and actually be at one of the trainings.
Well, call me when you're ready.
Yeah. It seems like they're both close-knit groups. There's a warrior mentality. There's that brotherhood. And you're both leaving the house in the morning not knowing if you're going to make it home at night. So there's that danger. Everybody knows they're in danger, and they're in it together. There's so much there. And I think the SEALs and the PBR coming together is a really
there's a close alignment. I hate to, we say SEALs. Same with Green Berets, MARSOC Raiders, Air Force Special Operations. They're all the same. And I know I probably just upset some SEALs when I said that. Yeah. It's okay. Check your egos. But you're right. So we interviewed Wyatt Rogers earlier. Yeah. He said, hey, everyone can be a cowboy. And I say the same thing about a warrior. Being a warrior is not about carrying a gun. It's about a mindset. Yeah. And much like he said, cowboys are the same way. It's a mindset.
Yeah, that's right.
And so the alignment and with the team series, I'm so excited for the PBR. I know their inaugural season was last year. It was, and all the teams are now privately owned.
Yes.
This is a good thing. They'll get better care, better treatment, better rehab sports.
We want to see you at the Gambler Days.
Yes, I couldn't make it last year because I was on the road. I gotta make money. I gotta report. But the alignment between them and what we do is absolutely there, and I understand why PBR is sort of aligned with the special operations.
Yeah. Well, one cool thing for your viewers is we have a new docu-series coming out called The Ride.
This looks good.
The Gamblers are one of the teams featured.
Yes.
Ezekiel Mitchell. Zeke's a chapter in here.
The Blue Mitchell.
Blue Mitchell, Jose Vitor Lema, who's on the cover, riding Whoopa to the highest score in PBR history. So a lot of Gambler stories, but it's a 8-episode docu-series that goes inside the lives of these guys like never before. It's really good. And again, the PR guy, transacting in BS because it's close to the sport here. But no, that's the God's honest truth. It is a really good show.
I have no doubt this is going to be one of their top series, and I'm excited. I was invited to one of the premieres in Austin. I can't make it, but so The Ride comes out on Amazon. Is that correct?
Prime Video, yeah. Amazon Prime Video, May 30th. It'll stream. I believe it's bingeable. It's 8 episodes, and it takes you inside these guys. And Chase Outlaw's story is so incredible. Dalen Swearingen. You meet guys too that aren't household names necessarily, like Boudreaux Campbell, who's one of the funniest guys in the locker room. So Boudreaux is a good presence in it, and just lots of great stories. Just salt of the earth guys like Eli Vassbinder, and I loved it because I tried to put words on paper describing what I've experienced, but the ride kind of just takes you in it by running the cameras and following these guys throughout their lives.
And the antics between, the camaraderie and the
Oh,
antics
yeah.
between the riders is great.
There's great stuff.
Andrew, I can't thank you enough, especially for this book, and I look forward to reading this to dive further and hear some of these stories. And I think for anyone, pick up, again, Love and Try. You're going to learn a lot, not only about the PBR, but just, again, that cowboy mindset of no quit, always the relentless pursuit of excellence, no matter what is thrown your way, even an injury.
Can
you
I
keep
add
moving
one
forward.
point?
Yes, absolutely. You can.
PBR co-published the book with me, and my proceeds and PBR's proceeds go to the Western Sports Foundation, which helps pay the bill of injured bull riders. I figure I suffer a hangnail occasionally at the keyboard. These guys put it out all on the line, and they deserve it. So.
Rarely do you see an author do that. Thank you for that selfless. And again, that shows your love for these.
There's
these
no
riders.
book without these guys.
Yeah.
There's no. I don't feed my family without these guys. So we're very appreciative of them and their love for the sport.
Andrew, we'd love to have you back in the future. Love the conversation. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll see you again. Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Men's Journal Everyday Warrior. Again, I'm your host, Mike Sorelli. I'm with a good friend, JJ, who's the CEO of the Austin Gamblers. Well, congrats on the inaugural season. Damn close. I know you guys always wanted that championship. That's always the goal. But you've also, in a lot of ways, set the standard for how the teams are run, not only from an administration and operations side, but how you take care of the riders from the human performance angle and everything else. Give us a little bit about your background, because I know you're bringing a wide experience within elite sports.
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting because for a lot of people, they're like, you're completely foreign to this, you're new to this, where do you come in? But so while I was in baseball, minor league baseball for the past 25 years, working with Nolan Ryan and his family and running a couple different minor league baseball teams and some different verticals within that space, I grew up in Nebraska. Big cattle feeding family, farmers. So I'm not completely foreign to it. But again, was in a completely different space in the world of baseball for the last 25 years. But I think there's a lot of things that I don't bring to the table. Like I'll never be able to talk to Jose or Dalton or Dakota in terms of technique and writing and what it's like to put your hand in a bull rope. I'll never be able to do that. But what I can do and what I do think I bring to the table in working with our head coach Michael Gaffney and our ownership group and the rest of our staff is 25 years of working in a team league environment and how do you build a team. And so that's, one of the things that I've tried to do. And Michael, our head coach G-Man, he's been such an amazing mentor and friend. And honestly, everybody else in the PBR, the other coaches, have been so warm, have been nothing but help me to help grow the sport. Because I think all of our goals are aligned on this, from PBR management to the other teams, the other coaches, the other riders, is we're trying to build this sport, and we really see this team series as the platform that takes this to the next level.
In talking previously with Dakota, one of your riders, the brotherhood. Now they had a brotherhood before as individual, competitors, but now they really have a brotherhood. They can get behind a banner. I think that's amazing. You said it. You can't ever touch on the technical piece, but they can find that almost anywhere because they're surrounded by coaches and people in the sport. But you bring an angle that none of them have dealt with before. And I think outside perspectives, we in the SEALs look at business leaders and sports leaders to look at your best practices and then try to incorporate whatever breadcrumbs we can into our practices. So now you guys have number 2 and number 3 in the world on the individual side. You've got Ezekiel Mitchell, you got guys like Dakota. A lot of people are saying it's Austin Gamblers' title to lose stepping into this next team series. How do you keep the guys humble?
Well, this sport, really any sport, but this sport more than any, you're 8 seconds away from injury. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when. You talk to any rider, not just on our team, but any rider in the team series and in the Unleash the Beast season right now, everybody has some type of injury that they're dealing with. Some of them are debilitating, some of them are just painful, but everybody's dealing with it. And we can look at last year as evidence. We were we started off slow. We got a heater actually after we met with you and met with the team down in Coronado. We were in first. Jose got hurt, and within a matter of 3 weeks, we went to fourth. So you're one injury away. And while, the biggest thing for us that we've tried to do in starting, and that was really an eye-opener for us, is that while Jose is great and some of our other riders are great, is you really need depth. When you look at, and I like to use a lot of analogies, and you look at some different past Super Bowl performances in the Philadelphia Eagles, you hear that they beat the Patriots. They were without their number one because they had a great number two. And so one of the things that we try to do really starting almost immediately after the draft last year was how do we build depth? And so it took us a little while to do that and kind of really understand and try to build the right part of the team, because it's not about just getting the best riders. As you know, as you guys have put SEAL teams together, it's not about getting the most proficient shooter or the fastest guy or the strongest guy. It's how do guys complement each other? How do guys react and work as a team? Because we already have Jose. We don't need another alpha in that manner, right? So we need guys to be able to work with and complement Jose. And so we worked really hard last year, and we were very diligent. How do we add different pieces to the puzzle? And we added a Ramon de Lima in the middle of the year, and Ramon's just solid. The guy just doesn't talk much, very stoic, just shows up and does the work, right? He's like an assassin. He's just a big, good-looking guy, doesn't say much, doesn't need to, don't need to motivate him much. He just shows up and does the work every day. And then later in the year, when we knew we had an opportunity to win the regular season and have a chance at the championship, there was an opportunity for us to go get Dalton Castle. One of the most exciting, energetic riders, was the 2019 Rookie of the Year, just a Cowboys cowboy. We had the opportunity, with full supportive ownership, we were able to get him. And, the interesting thing for us was we already had Jose bringing Dalton into the mix. How would that work? And it was unbelievable, because Jose never looked at it as somebody taking away the spotlight. He saw it as adding another piece to help win a championship. And they competed on a friendly level, but they also pushed each other, because now you got two guys not only riding every night, but legitimately getting 90-point rides. And Dalton, one of the worries was how much is he going to buy into this team culture that we've built? Because as you and I have talked about, what we came into and what I came into was a sport that has been primarily or really individual for 200 years. It's a man and a bull, and that's it. And so that's what these guys have been born to do, bred to do. A lot of these guys, they didn't grow up in a city. They didn't play football. They didn't play baseball. They didn't play basketball. They grew up on a ranch, and it was them and a bull or them and a horse. And so we had to find a way to build a team culture and a team identity. And honestly, with a big thanks to you and your network, reaching out to the SEALs, because I was like, if we're going to build a team, we're going to build a culture, who's the best group to emulate? And so we looked at the SEALs. And so, we were very fortunate. We had you and some of your guys and Tim Kennedy and different guys, and we were able to go down to Coronado and spend a half a day there. And it was crazy, because we went into that weekend in Anaheim 7th, and then we won 8 straight games and vaulted up to number 1. Now, I don't know if it was completely because of that, but I think it had a lot to do with it. And what it really had a lot to do with was building this team culture. And so we've been really intentional in everything that we do. And it's been amazing to see the guys who have never been on a team buy into this thing, not just during the season, but in this individual season, these 6 months that we've not been competing as a team. And you go to the different events and you go to the different arenas, and our guys are sitting together, they're hanging out together, they're working out together. And so it's been great to see, and it's not just been us, I've seen that with all the other teams as well. So, but I'm excited to see what 2023 brings us. We've got a tremendous opportunity. We were 1 second away from getting to the championship game last year. And, all that does is feed the fire more.
Absolutely. The culture you guys have built, the secret sauce for special operations, because you had Green Beret, SEALs, all that you worked with, is hardship or shared adversity. And putting people through hardship together forms senses of homecoming, belonging, and just bonds that can never be broken. You guys did an amazing job, and leadership sets the tone you and Mike Gaffney, G-Man, have set that tone, and the guys have followed and bought in. Having worked in professional sports, namely baseball, for 20 plus years, and God knows, there's a lot of baseball leaders that have become pop culture in the sense of their principles and values. What do you respect specifically about these riders, these Cowboys, that maybe baseball doesn't have in spades?
It's not about the money.
It's always about the money.
It's not about the money. It's the craziest thing. When you are talking to groups of people, employees, you're always looking at ways to motivate people. Mm-hmm. You go to companies and you give speeches. How do you do this? In sports, specifically professional sports, at the end of the day, 99 times out of 100, it's about the money. And you're going to hear people say, it's not about the money. I'm telling you right now.
It's about the money for them. Yeah.
It's not about the money for these Cowboys.
Yeah.
In this instance. It's not about, hey guys, if we do this, I'll pay you more money. Or hey guys, if you do this, ownership has allowed us this bonus. These guys don't care. They've never cared. The money is just a byproduct of this. It's about being a Cowboy. It's about staying on the bull for 8 seconds. It's about bravery. It's about courage. It's about conquering fears. It's about being the best in the world. And I'm telling you that with all due respect to not just baseball players, but every other athlete out there, for these guys, it's not about the money.
I love that. And guys, I'm playing the counterpoint. It's always about the money. You guys, I've never touched bull riding until John Rodella connected me with you. And I think I said it to you after I spoke with the team, and Tim Kennedy came in, we had another SEAL come in, and it's yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And I do that to even young teenagers, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. It's the values, it's a way of life. And, we had one of the riders on earlier, he said, Cowboys, everyone has the potential to be a Cowboy. It's about a mindset, not physically growing up on a ranch or a farm and dealing with cowboys or horses. And I've never met a more values-based organization than the PBR, even more so exemplified by the riders. And it's just, JJ, I've got to dive in further because it's just, eerily, I'm like, there's got to be something else here. But I don't think there is. I think it's, as you just described it, these guys are doing it because of the love of the sport, because it's a lifestyle, for the pride, and I say that pride is a great thing. Ego and pride are on a spectrum, but pride drives us to do amazing things. I've never seen this before other than, the special operations community.
When you've interviewed elite people, you've interviewed elite athletes, and it takes I would imagine it takes a big set to be able to put your hand under center and look across the line and see a Ray Lewis, to walk into an octagon and see a John Jones. With all due respect to all those things, to get into the chutes, to get on the back of a 1,500 to 2,000 pound animal that is an elite athlete, not just a bovine, but an elite athlete, that even if you perform, if it's perfect, you're still going to get ejected. And there's still a chance that even in the best ride that you could get killed. That's what these guys sign up for, and that's what they do every time they get on the back of a bull, is they risk their lives. And so, as crazy as it sounds, it makes my job easy, because our owners are the best owners that I could ever imagine. They fully support us and want us to be the best organization in everything we do, from marketing, advertising, how we train, how we travel, our uniforms. They want us to be best in class. They want us to win. They're some of the most competitive people. Michael Dell's one of our 20% investors. Play nice but win, right? We follow that mantra. You got our riders. Not just Jose, but our entire group of people. They are fully committed to win. So above G-Man and me, we've got owners that are fully committed to win. Below G-Man and me, we've got riders that are fully committed to win. So we both feel guilty if we weren't giving 100% every single day for these guys who are risking their lives. And for G-Man, a guy that did for 20 plus years risk his life. And for me, you know, to know that these guys who have known me for a year, but are putting on the Gamblers logo every day, and they're risking their lives not only for themselves, for their families, but for us, man, there's no greater respect that I could have.
That sounds like a lot of burden, but you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown. That is the burden that comes with leadership. I want to hit two more things. One, you guys have opened up operations in Brazil. That was a unique sort of venture. I didn't expect or get any word that was coming down the pipe. What's the intent there?
So again, taking from my baseball background, when you look in baseball, you know, there's a lot of players from the Dominican Republic. I would argue that I think almost all 30 MLB clubs have some type of a presence in the Dominican. So as you look at the top 20 of the PBR, 50% are from Brazil. Top 10, 50% are Brazil. You look at the Gamblers roster, 50% are from Brazil. So G-Man and I are sitting around, we're like, I live in Austin, you live in Austin, we're not in Brazil. How do we get to Brazil? So fortunately for us, one of G-Man's traveling partners happened to be the very first PBR world champion, one of the only 2-3-time world champions, and happened to be running PBR Brazil. So we reached out to Adriano. We said, hey, we really feel like we need to have a presence there. With half of the best riders in the sport coming from Brazil, we need to have a presence. We need to be able to scout. We need to have recon. We need to be able to recruit. We need to be able to do all the different things and have a presence. And then just from a brand standpoint, right? You look at every major professional sport. You look at the NFL, they're going to Germany, they're going to England, they're going to Australia. The NBA is playing games in Mexico City. Major League Baseball is playing games in Mexico City. So from a business branding standpoint, we felt like it was a good idea. So there's a million different reasons. But to have Adriano available to us, to have a relationship with G-Man, and then in addition to that, one of the most technically sound riders has been giving instruction for 20, 30 plus years. You know, when we did this, obviously it was G-Man and myself making the decision with support from ownership, but I went to Jose and I was like, listen, you know, what do you think of Adriano? And he said, I love it. And I said, do you think it'll help? He goes, well, I'll tell you one thing. When I met Adriano, I was a bull rider. After I met Adriano, I became a champion. And I was like, all right, deal's done. So we're really excited about that. I literally just got to meet him, Adriano, for the first time in person last night. We had dinner together, and much like you like to do, I just sat there and listened. We had dinner for probably 3 hours, and I would say 2.5 hours he talked, and I just listened. And he's so excited about this opportunity to be able to work with not just the Gamblers and our riders, but the PBR team series. And again, one of the founders like G-Man, to see what they started in the early 90s, where this is now and where this thing is going to go with the team series, he's genuinely excited. And so it's so great to be able to not only give an opportunity to those guys who have given so much, but to work with them. It's awesome.
So great strategic long-term decision. I'm sure we'll start to see the other teams open up operations. It's always good to be.
It was just announced today.
Yeah.
Kansas City just brought on one today.
It's good to be the front runner, the trendsetter. You know, the 20 riders, that story, and when G-Man was telling me during the interview, I'm like, this thing needs to be a movie. This thing needs to be turned into a movie about just how, maybe dirt poor is maybe not the correct way to say it, but these guys were not being compensated for sacrificing their bodies, and they couldn't support their families. But speaking of movies, the majority of your riders are in an upcoming series called The Ride. And I'm going to tell you the branding behind this, which I'm sure you had some play in, knowing you, that I'm excited for this thing. And I think the fact that it's going to be on Amazon Prime is going to open up a lot of people to the sport. But tell me about the concept behind The Ride, how this all came to fruition.
Well, so full credit where it's due. You know, this is the PBR. Sean Gleason and his staff, Lawrence and the rest of the crew, they really saw an opportunity as we were launching the team series and an opportunity to take this to the next level. And so through a relationship and a partnership with Amazon, they brought them on board. Kinetic Productions was the producers. They were the ones that were shooting everything. So they started at the draft last year. And so they were around all season. And I think what's really awesome about this is that when you look at the history of these docu-series, and it goes back to really, I think, probably Hard Knocks, right? So a lot of times all of us, we would just watch the NFL on Sunday, see the guys in the helmets, maybe they get an interview on ESPN, right? But you never really saw behind the scenes or the stories. And Hard Knocks, I think, was really the first one that really did a good job of it. And then obviously, you know, the biggest one in sports right now is Drive to Survive. Because for a lot of us, maybe not internationally different, but here in America, a lot of us didn't know much about it. And you know, even if we watched a race, we saw this car going around at 180, 200 miles an hour with a guy with a helmet. So it's when you get out of the car, when you take that helmet off, and you're actually seeing people's faces, hearing them talk, hearing their stories. That's what I believe in America took F1 from here to here. And so I think that we have that same opportunity here, because even when you see a bull riding highlight, you're seeing a guy on a bull more than likely with the helmet on. You don't know what he looks like, you don't know what he sounds like, and you don't know his story. And so for us, this opportunity I think is really unique. I think the guys that they covered, not just the three guys from our team. So for the Gamblers, it's Jose, you know, arguably one of the greatest riders in the history of the sport. So you've got the GOAT on there. You got Zeke. For us, it's awesome because a local kid, Rockdale, Texas, what he's kind of gone through in his life to get where he is.
Especially that season.
Right. And with what happened there, and I'm not gonna be the spoiler on that one, but Zeke's story, not only in general, but last year, it's interesting because, side note, Kinetic is usually known for inserting drama into docuseries and reality shows. But with bull riders, you don't have to. In general, you don't have to, because their stories are so crazy. But then what happened with Zeke last year? What happened with Chase Outlaw last year? You know, those guys, I think all the guys, but those guys, they're going to become household names across America, and people are going to fall in love with them. Dakota Lewis, single dad, living on the reservation, take care of his 5-year-old son, Hayes. You know, Eli Bassbinder, Boudreaux Campbell, Dalen Swearingen, his story about growing up and his mom. I mean, it's unbelievable, and there's no fake drama. And you talked about these cowboys; they're cowboys, and they're real life stories. And I think for fans and of PBR and for folks that aren't familiar with the sport, to be able to see these guys, to be able to hear these guys, get their stories. It's an unbelievable platform, I think, for PBR, for these riders and for the team series. We're really excited about it on the league level. I'm excited because obviously there's some gamblers that are being featured. So yeah, we're excited. We're just a few short weeks away from that thing launching.
And you know, my prediction is Zeke is probably going to become a Hollywood star eventually. He's going to get pulled in. What a personality on him, and what a sharp mind. JJ, I can't thank you enough for joining us, man, and congratulations on last season. I'm excited about this season, and more importantly, for the integrity, trust-based leadership that you and G-Man have demonstrated to not only your riders, but to the American public and to the league. So congratulations, my man.
Well, you've been a big part of it. We appreciate you.
Dude, absolutely. All right, guys, we will see you again. All right, guys, welcome to the Men's Journal Everyday Warrior. I'm your host, Mike Sorelli. I've got Wyatt Rogers, one of the PBR World finalists. First time, right?
Yeah, first time. Excited to be here in Fort Worth for my first PBR World Finals.
And you've been in the sport since you can almost walk.
Since I could walk. I got put on my first sheep when I was 2 years old, had a rope in my hand since I could walk. Won my first dummy rope and buckle when I was 2, and just kind of loved this life and knew that's what I wanted to be my whole life.
What's the what do you call the sheep? It's
Mutton busting.
Mutton busting. Yeah, that's what I thought. I always thought that was great, man.
Yeah. No, grew up doing that and just transferred from calf riding to steer riding to bulls after that, and just grew up in it.
And your father was a roper.
A professional steer wrestler and team roper.
No kidding.
No rough stock at all in
Yeah.
any part of my family. Just They said that's what I would sleep through. I'd sleep through all the timed events and wake up for the bull riding when I was little. And so I guess I just loved it.
So you could say it's in the blood.
It's in the blood.
Oh man! Well, congratulations on making it to the finals. I know you've been in the PBR since 2017. You've been described, and I actually think this is a great sort of descriptor, as a dark horse, as somebody who just works their ass off. You'll come out of nowhere and put everyone, put a scare in everyone the way you compete. I know it hasn't always been a smooth ride. You've had some pretty devastating injuries, the femur injury. Walk me through that. I mean, how bad was that? I know it required surgery.
Definitely wasn't ideal. I went back to college for a master's degree, so I got an extra year at college rodeo. And so instead of focusing on PBR that year, this was 2021, I went to all the college rodeos, and they were back-to-back 9 weeks. And so I didn't get to go to PBRs as much, even though I was kind of up there in the ranks. So then I was doing double duty at the end of the year to try to make the PBR finals as well. And then our last college rodeo was April, like 29th or something. And then we went to, I got to go to Billings and Jacksonville, Florida in May to Unleash the Beast. I finally made it, and then were my first two. Well, Jacksonville, unfortunately, had a bull run me down the post and bent my leg backwards. And then when I was getting off and landed, my momentum kind of shifted over it. And so my leg ended up back here and had one leg pointing down, one leg pointing up. And broke my leg in 4 places up the lower part of it, 3 on the tibia and 1 on the fibula.
Compound fracture, or
No,
it didn't break skin?
Fortunately, it didn't break skin, but tore all the ligaments in my ankle as well, which is why that was allowed to go all the way backwards. So that was what took some time to get fixed, was the ligaments and stuff. But set out 13 weeks and went back to riding.
You only sat out 13 weeks.
Yeah, 13 weeks.
I'm going to assume that the doctors wanted a little more time, probably?
No, Tandy cleared me. He said, as long as you can withstand the pain, you're allowed to go back to riding. He said, your leg's healed up, therapy went good and stuff like that.
Were you working your ass off in therapy?
Oh, yeah, doing double duty on therapy, trying to get back as fast as possible.
Because, I mean, it's your income as well.
Yeah, you're not making any money if you're hurt on the sidelines.
That is amazing. Metal still in the...
Yep, still in there. I actually got stepped on about a month ago in Billings, exactly where that plate is in my ankle, and some bone spurs split off from it, and then got one fracture on the small non-weight bearing bone again on the fibula on the inside of my leg.
So you've got bone spurs that have broken off in your leg right now.
Yeah.
You've got a slight fracture in the other one.
It's still in the same leg. It's just on the inside of the leg right here, and then the plate's on the outside right here.
So you're pushing through.
Yeah. You can ask anyone. For the last month of the season, I was hobbling around. I couldn't run, couldn't do anything. I was just kind of limping around or gimping, whatever you want to call it.
Would you say you refuse to quit?
Yeah, there's no quit, especially growing up in this lifestyle and the way my dad raised me. It's, if you're going to do something, you can't quit, and you just got to push through the injuries. He always told me growing up, if it's not broke or you're not knocked out, you better get up and get out of the arena.
There is a fascination. I think America needs more cowboys, or they need more of the cowboy mindset distilled into America.
I believe everyone can be a cowboy. It's all the mindset and how you approach life, and not making excuses for when you get hurt, and just understanding that there's going to be bad days and good days, and you just got to push through whatever day that is and get to the next.
You know, what you're preaching right now is just, it's not the norm. It's not what the majority are saying. We've got a big sort of, victimhood sort of epidemic going on in the United States. But every time I'm with you guys, y'all just work your asses off. You're all so focused. I mean, you've all lived a life where when you were young, what time were you guys getting up? Because you got to tend to all the...
My dad worked 2 jobs, so normally he was a janitor and school bus driver, and then he would work at Gates Rubber Company making belts for cars, lawnmowers, and stuff. So like a lot of times, like he didn't have time to do all of his janitor duties. So I'm 4th grader. I was going in and picking up trash and vacuuming rooms at the school at 6 a.m., working till 6 p.m., then going home riding horses and stuff like that. So like grew up getting up early and doing a lot of stuff. And so when I got time to sleep in nowadays, I take advantage of it. And just kind of live how I want during the week and go golf a lot and I relax when I can now.
You've earned that. You've earned that ability to go golf.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. You know what you just said about everyone has the potential to be a cowboy. One, we had cowboy hats on, or I did this morning. He was quick to correct me. I'm from California, but cowboy is less about, in my eyes, because just again getting to know you guys. The Austin Gamblers was my first sort of foray into this. Is cowboys? Yes, it is a pride. It is a job. It is a way of life, but it's also a mindset.
Yeah, 100% the mindset is this, especially bull riding. We're 90% mental challenge and 10% physical. So just to get down on a bull, you got to be a little bit crazy and got to be able to overcome that somehow in your mind. And especially once you get hurt and know the possibilities, like every time we nod our head, we know that we can die. And we're just all comfortable with our faith and with the way we live our life. I mean, if I'm going to die, I'd rather be doing something I love than something I hate.
Amen. And more young men and women need to hear that. You know, the risk of injury, man. I'm sure with yours alone, some guys would have been like, "Yep, that's God's way of saying, hey, I should be done." But you know, as you said, your mom and your girlfriend are here cheering you on. I mean, especially for your mom.
Yeah, she's seen the ups and downs for sure. So I broke my leg in 2021. That ruined my 2021 dream to make the finals that year. 2022, I had to start back at what we call the Velocity Tour, which is like the minor leagues of this level. And had a really good start to the year. Won 4th at Fort Worth, the first one of the year. Won Reno, which was the second one of the year, and won 3rd at Denver. So I set in top 15 in the world. Well, unfortunately, my second round at Denver, I tore my knee up, tore my ACL and my PCL in my left knee. Just landed wrong. Still got on a bull after that, rode that bull. But then Dr. Tandy, he told me, he said, hey, you got to draw a bull that specifically does this in order for you to ride. He's like, you got to have to set out. So then last year was our first shortened season from where the season was from January to May.
Yeah.
So I went till January 12th was when I got hurt, and I got to come back April 12th. So I missed the whole season. There was 3 events left whenever I came back. So there went the World Finals last year too. So mentally, that was just devastating to me. I considered quitting. Like, it was just like, I took a lot of time to reevaluate, like, what does God want from me? Like, why would he put me through all these struggles and hitting rock bottom, it felt like, to not give me what I wanted, what I felt like I earned. Well, at the end of the day, it's what God's timing. It's not our timing. It's when he feels like we're ready. And he's just teaching me some hard lessons that I had to overcome.
Is faith the foundation of your?
Oh, 100%. Just with God, there ain't nothing that you can stop you in life and everything. So
You came to the conclusion that God doesn't want you to quit. He's just trying to
he's just
test your resolve.
He's just pushing me and definitely testing my faith, or maybe a little bit of the devil in there. And thankfully, did a lot of self-searching and found myself and what he wanted me to do.
You know, you talk about the mental component, and I know you guys sometimes, it's almost like baseball is the best analogy I can use. Batters go into a slump.
Yeah.
You talk about the mental aspect. Is it guys just get in their own heads, and it affects our performance?
You definitely, everyone's going to go into a slump at some point in this sport. Sometimes slumps are a little longer for certain guys than other guys, but everyone's going to go through them. And the bad thing is a lot of times we still know what we're doing, but you start trying to fix things that weren't ever broken. And I believe if you just focus on everything that you kept doing, and you know what got you here in this life, just keep riding and entering, and eventually you'll work your way out of it. That's about the best philosophy I got for a slump. But
I don't think there's any more complex answer or solution than that. So you are 37 in the world. I mean, does that ever hit you? Like, I am 37th in the world of millions of bull riders.
yeah, it's good enough to get me my first World Finals. It's not where I want to be, so next year definitely going to come in a little higher in the world, but still got a lot of points and money available this week, so hopefully to finish in the top 15 is kind of my goal at the end of this week, and maybe make a push for Rookie of the Year and scare them guys that are ahead of me.
I love the attitude. As a professional, stepping into the World Finals, again, you're ranked number 37 coming in. What are you going through in your head? How are you preparing mentally to step into the arena tomorrow and potentially next week as well?
Just take it one day at a time, and just got to ride one bull each day until the last day, and then ride 2 that day. So I know if I ride 8 for 8, there's going to be a lot of money, and they're pretty sure they'll be crowning me Rookie of the Year at the end of that.
Oh, well, man, I would not count you out in the taking it one ride at a time and staying in the moment. There's nothing more beautiful, and I think that is a great approach. Wyatt, congrats on all your success, overcoming the injuries, man. And I know we talked earlier. I hope you take the 3 weeks to refresh, and then I have no doubt you'll be back on bulls riding, man.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah.
You too. Dakota Lewis, what's up, man?
Oh,
Good to
man.
see you again.
Great to be here.
Dude, thank you for joining us. Well, also congrats on the Austin Gamblers season. I know that's months late, but you guys had a great inaugural
sir.
season.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing?
Man, it's been great. It's been exciting. I mean, we're building to get better, and with the Gamblers, we're building to get better as a team. So, I mean, it's been a whole new deal for us coming from individual bull riders, to becoming a brotherhood. And man, it's been exciting, and I feel like it's really pushed us above the bar, for ourselves, and not only in our bull riding, but in our everyday lives. So, I'm super happy to be here. My 3rd PBR World Finals, and man, growing up, being a 5-year-old kid, riding the couch cushion over there, saying that I was going to be at the PBR World Finals one day, it's truly a dream come true for me just to be here, and to be able to be at this stage, to get to do what I love, I'm just super thankful.
And I'm grateful for the listeners and viewers. I got to meet Dakota when they stood up the Austin Gamblers in the initial team meeting or week. And yeah, bro, it's good to have a brotherhood. It's good to have a sense of homecoming and belonging. And I know it's wildly different from the sport you guys knew,
Right.
being an individual. But and now you have a son. And
Yes.
so I watch on social media, man. I can tell you are over the moon with that little boy.
Oh yeah, shoot, he's obviously he's dang sure changed my life for the better. I was a pretty selfish person prior, and man, I tell you what, it opened my eyes to a whole new world. Wanting to be better, wanting to do things better. You're wanting to make everything as tip top as you can, not only for yourself, but to lead an example for your next one coming up, and to see the smile and the love I see out of my son, just to watch me get to do what I love to do on a daily, that's what it's all about for me.
And so you bring him to a lot of the events. Again, all social media, and I smile when I watch you, but is it, one, I know you want to be close to him, but are you also trying to expose him to the sport and to the work that goes into it? And
I am, with all of it though. I feel like, me being from a small town reservation in Montana, not too many people ever even thought about being at this stage, getting to do some of the things, getting to see some of the things, getting to travel and meet people, and I feel like me being as lucky as I have been and being as blessed as I have been, that if I have the opportunity to show my son this, then I'm going to push it as much as I can, whether he wants to be a professional bull rider or a professional anything, or whatever he wants to do. I just want him to show that, well, my dad went at this as hard and as best as he can, so that's how I should go about the things that I want to go to, because he said he wanted to do it and he did it. So I feel like, if we kind of could install that anything is possible with a good work ethic, that, man, we could change the world. So it's definitely been a learning curve for me, being a father, but man, it's truly the biggest blessing I've ever been blessed.
yeah, I don't think it's formulaic,
Right.
Or there's an instruction manual for being a parent. You just sort of figure it out, trial and error along the way. But born in Montana and
Yes, sir.
raised Indian.
Yep.
And I know you're extremely proud of that heritage.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to remember, Cherokee?
No, so I'm actually born and raised on the Blackfeet Reservation.
Blackfeet, I remember that one.
I'm enrolled in Northern Cheyenne and Northern Cree. So I'm kind of like a mix of all nations. So in my own mind, I call myself the chief of all nations.
So, the sense of pride that you're representing them, and I heard you're involved with again these reservations. Are you working with younger
Yeah, no, so
Native Americans? Yeah.
we're trying to push everything for the next generation. I mean, me, if I could maybe just say something or do something or even give something in the simplest manner to show somebody that if you want to do something, you can do it, no matter who you are, where you come from. If you have the right work ethic, the good state of mind that you want to do it, I mean, we could change the world. You know, who knows? I might be the next president. If I wanted to be the president and worked hard at it, you know, who knows?
Yeah, you do a better job than the current bunch who are either running or in the White House. That's my opinion. I'm
Right.
sticking to it. And I know you've got a love. Maybe it's your first love of horses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, me being a Native American, I feel like where I come from, we come from horse people. You know, for me, I was born and raised on a ranch in Montana. We've trained a lot of horses. They've taught me so much growing up. And I tell you what, some days, most days when I get caught up in this fast-paced life, one of the most important things that I love to do when I get home is the chance to just be able to go out there, ride my horse by myself out in the pasture, or just take care of it or do something with it. I don't know. I feel like that energy, you know, it instills to us and kind of keeps us balanced. And you know, I feel like sometimes we get to walk in a little bit faster than our feet can move, and sometimes we just got to bring our back to our core, you know. So.
Let me ask you two questions. One, what's the primary lesson? Because you said you've learned so much from horses. What's that one thing that you just take away?
I would say the one thing would probably to not rush into anything. I mean, if you're gonna make this happen with this horse, you guys got to work together. You know, you got to be able to help that horse understand what you want him to do. You can't just go out there and make him do something that he's not going to want to do. You know, so I feel like that partnership and you know, that I feel like patience as well, because for ourselves we want things to happen right now when we want it to.
Instant gratification.
And a lot of times it ain't gonna happen like that because of the lessons we need to learn at the end of it. And so I feel like with me, I still work on this on a daily, you know, and sometimes I want it right. I wanted it yesterday.
Yes.
You know, and
Yeah.
and so when things do happen and I understand the process and, you know, like, okay, that's why that had happened now.
It's amazing as you say that, and I'm thinking and trying to apply that to life. It's no different than humans. It takes time to build trust in a relationship.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you got to have patience. You can't rush that respect. You can't rush that credibility. But
Right.
Is there a bond between you and your favorite horse?
You know, there is. I'd have to say, you know, we've been through a couple Western wrecks that we probably could have avoided at some point, but we made it through together. And, you know, having that bond at the ranch, to have that structure, you know, say I might be gone on the road a month, and I come driving down our driveway at the ranch and see my horse out there, you know, and it's that instant kind of gratification to kind of just tell me that I'm all right.
Yeah.
You know, everything's okay. You're right where you need to be. And because you know how today's world is, sometimes we be thinking about 1,000 different things, and then
Yes.
so it's like it kind of puts right there in gratitude to where I'm at.
No, they are beautiful creatures. Now, I want to get into something before we talk about the PBR finals. I've been told that there was a very dangerous situation where you decided to tuck tail and run, but a corky stepped up and attacked a grizzly on your behalf.
Yeah.
Is this true, man?
Yeah, no, it's true. And I tell you what, as fast as I had to run that day, I might have been able to get a gold medal at the Olympics. That had definitely put some fire in me to go the other direction. But yeah, no, thank God that I had my cow dogs there, be able to slow them down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they got out of dangerous way.
Grizzly?
You know, it was actually a grizzly. It was a black bear.
Black bear,
Yeah.
still. Yeah.
Sow is a time of the year when they are out and they are hungry. And honestly, with the first instant that I had when I thought, because it had just happened where I thought just my dogs were fighting amongst themselves. And I had spun around, and 5 feet away from me is a bear, and my dogs are on the bear.
No kidding.
My first thought in my head was, this is how it's going to happen.
This is yeah.
it, you know? And so I dropped my stuff, and everyone, I mean, everybody says what to do, what not to do when it comes to this time.
You don't know. You don't
Well,
know.
when I was getting put in this situation, I said, bullshit, I'm getting the heck out
Yeah.
of here, you know? And so I ran as fast as I could in the opposite direction. And thank God that my corgi had hung on for dear life onto this bear's face to slow it up enough for me to get away. And yeah, no, corgi's definitely got a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah. Corky was okay.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was okay. Now, do you start to carry during that time of season
Oh, yeah,
now?
yeah. So my training resume at my house, I live about 2 miles from the road. And I run up there to the end of the road and run back every day. Just something that just kind of puts that same kind of stability in my heart to, you know, just appreciate God's gift on letting us be able to do that. And there's been a couple times where I've ran into a couple different scenarios, not quite as frantic as that one, but yeah, no, I got me a pistol pretty close to my side now
Yeah.
when I'm out and about. So
I've been wearing a fanny pack now with
Oh, yeah.
built for pistols,
Yep.
and I wear it across my chest. My wife hates it. She's like, "God, you look like such a dork." I'm like, "Hey, I'll be a prepared dork."
Yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about the finals, man. You come into this. Did you bring the family?
so they're all coming in next week.
Okay.
They're all coming in next week. Yeah.
What in terms of you're going up against teammates now, friends. What type of what do you tell yourself, or what do you do to get into the mindset of like just being laser focused on your performance and blocking all the noise out that comes with this weekend or these 2 weekends?
You know, honestly, that's something that I've been working with prior to this event, working up to these events, because we all know what we expect out of ourselves, and we all know what kind of work we're doing to make that happen. And for me, you know, I felt like I was working mentally, physically, but I just didn't see any progress. Not necessarily myself, just in the results itself, right? Mm-hmm. So leading up to this event, you know, I had just put into my heart right before I left my house is I know who I am. I know my capability. I don't need to prove it to anybody except for myself, but also the standards that I have for myself.
Yes.
You know, that's what I want to take to that level. And man, honestly, I've been just not necessarily focusing on the parts of what I want, but enjoying the process and then just making the absolute best out of that moment as I can. You know, like this morning, I got up and, you know, I do miss my son not being here because I'm used to him being with me all the time. And right then and there, I put, you know, well, Hayes' dad is about to ride at the PBR World Finals tonight. And if Hayes' daddy gets about a 95-point bull ride, I know Hayes is dang sure going to be one proud kid to be right there, you know. And right then and there, it's flipped the switch, you know, from missing him. I mean, I'll always miss him. But then it kind of went into that warrior mode, too, where, okay, we're here for this reason. And that's the reason that we want to be here. So let's do it.
I love the warrior mindset, which is to say the cowboy mindset as well. You just said a word that rarely comes out, standards. And I'm sure that's become increasingly important as you become a father.
Yes, sir.
What standards are you setting for your children? Do you think you hold high standards for yourself, and what happens when you fall short of those?
Oh, I mean, my dad, I feel like he was the same way for our standards, you know, and when he's around, I know what he expects. And for myself, you know, I want to be a role model, but also I just want to be myself, you know, and then that's kind of what I bring into my son is like, I'm not trying to act any other way besides who I am.
Your authentic self.
And this is who I am, and I want you to find out who you are, but also I want you to know the standards that we're going through, what we expect out of you, you know. It's like when you're at the dinner table and you want some across there, well, you're not about to just reach across to anybody because at our dinner table, you might get a spoon to the forehead. So, you know, you dang sure want to know your P's and Q's right there.
Yeah.
And just kind of live that, I would say, this lifestyle, having a son and showing him, you know, what I love to do and that this is possible, you know, to enjoy the process for the most part but also to really just focus on one thing at a time as well. You know,
Yeah.
you can't get too far ahead of yourself, and I feel like every day we all could kind of do that sometimes,
Yeah.
where we all start kind of getting our mind somewhere else, where it's like, hey, if we just focus on right here, do the best we can right now, the next step's going to be a lot easier for us. So,
You know, every interview we've done with all your counterparts have talked about the journey and the process, and you can't rush it. Taking
Right.
it one step at a time, as we say. That's a beautiful thing. You know, I know everyone has a process, whether it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or even a minute before you get in that cage. What is your process? Does it involve breathing, visualization? Are you talking to yourself? What do you do? And do you do the same thing almost every time?
you know, there's a similar strategy that I try to stay with every time, you know. But, you know, prior, you know, I mean, for myself, like I see what I want to happen, you know, I see it. So that's what makes me kind of gets that extra. And, you know, just that positive affirmation to yourself. Because, I mean, we're going against 1,500, 2,000 pound bulls that don't care what your name is, who you are, where you come from, if you have a family or not, you know. So us putting our hand in a rope, our life is on the line every single time. And I feel like if you go into that half cocked, you're already beat. I mean, if you don't go into a fist fight thinking that you're going to win, or at least try your absolute best that you're going to win, you're going to get your ass whipped. And so being able to go against these bulls and then coming out on top, you know, being labeled as one of the best in the world, you know, and that's what truly inspires me from being a kid, you know, to people telling me that, you know, and man, I always tell people that for us riding bulls, putting our hand on that rope, people think, oh, you're just a wild guy hanging on tight, you know.
Yeah.
But for us, you know, it's the passion, it's the love for the game, it's the sport, you know, it's the warrior mentality, it's the fighter in all of us, you know. And maybe not everybody has that, but if they can see that coming out from us, you know, we could install that a little bit into them and just in their mindset to, you know, say, well, this guy, he's out there, you know, he's 165 pounds, he's riding a 2,000 pound bull. What can I do? You know what I mean? Like, I know there's elders that are handicapped or possibly just didn't go on their chance on what they wanted to do, and they see a guy like me coming from a small town, being able to ride on TV, doing something I love, you know, just put that little bit of small hope into their heart and let them know that, you know, everything is going to be all right. You know, the world is still going to spin, and if I have this opportunity to breathe, then I have the opportunity to do what I want to do and to make myself happy. So I feel like by me riding bulls, if I can install that into somebody else, you know, got to be doing something right.
Inspire, influence, which is a selfless motive. Let me ask you this, and I want to end with this. Do you still get nervous when you get on that bull?
You know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't get nervous. Like I was talking to my dad this morning, and I had told him, yeah, no, I'm feeling pretty good, this and that, you know, whatnot. And he was talking to me. He says, well, you remember them nerves? You use them nerves because they're going to be there. He's like, you remember you were 2 years old and you dreamed of this. He's like, you was that dreamer that made it happen, and now you're there. So you just need to enjoy it all. He's like, yeah, let them nerves just line up. You've done this 1,000 times prior, you know. And for me, you know, it's the standards and the expectations I have out of myself. You know, that's what kind of, I feel like, starts up those good nerves and gets kind of the blood rolling and stuff. But, you know, also at the end of the day, I feel like we wouldn't be here if we didn't believe in ourselves and being the best. And, you know, just let our training and the timing happen, because man, on myself, I got to keep myself calm because I just get so fired up. You know, I love it. I love all about it. I love the process. I love everything about it. And man, it just, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen, and you're just ready to do it, I guess. I don't know. For myself, I guess I always have to know my numbers, because if I let myself, I'm going to get jacked up right now. You know, once I get the fireworks and the music and I'm ready to go, you know, and I got to tell myself, you know, to breathe and just stay standard until it's go time. And then once I do crawl over in that chute, I mean, no nothing against anybody else, any bull, anybody else, but fucking I tell myself that I'm the baddest motherfucker ever. I'm the baddest motherfucker right here, and I'm about to fucking show him what I'm about. And it don't matter what the bull's name is, if he's getting wild in there, and when the bulls do start kind of moving around, like it gets me even more fired up. It's like, all right, you son
wanna
of a
go.
bitch, let's
You
do
wanna
it.
go.
Yeah, and that's for me. I gotta just kind of keep my levels even because I want to kind of let my emotions get out there, and I get a little excited.
Well, I love, especially when you hit that 8 seconds and you come off.
Oh, yeah.
You can see it in your face. And hey, man, I'm excited to watch you. Smart words from your dad. A dream without action is just a wish.
Yes, sir.
You put in the work. Your son is now watching you put in that work. Congratulations, man. I can't wait to watch you. And damn good to see you again, man.
Oh, man, it's great to see
All right,
you.
brother. All right, guys. We'll see you again. Welcome back to the Men's Journal Everyday Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sorelli. I'm joined by Dalton in Payden Castle. Right now, Dalton, you are number 3 in the world in bull riding. Does that ever sink in for you?
It has here lately. I'm been getting a bunch of phone calls, and that's helped, and it's a little surreal to me. And I don't know. I can't wait till I'm number 1. It'll be a lot better, but number 3 is fine.
Number 3 is amazing, and I have no doubt that you'll get to that number 1. How do you feel about that? I mean, that's insane. Your husband, who we all know, who his support network is number 3 in the world.
I'm very excited for him because this is something that he's been working for his whole life, and I think I kind of feel the same way as him. It doesn't feel real sometimes.
Yeah.
And I have some friends talk to me and be like, that's so cool. How does it feel like he's number 3 and stuff? And it's just one of those deals of, it's exciting, but I'll be excited whenever he's number 1 too. But like I said, number 3 is pretty good also.
Now, I've known some high performers in my past industry. Do you have to bring him down to reality sometimes?
No. Not very often. He's honestly pretty level, and he doesn't get too much of a big head, I don't think. Every now and then, after some wins, I'll be like, hey, rein it in. That's enough.
Do you have a list of tasks when you get home off the road? Like, hey, congratulations, you won that, but now you got to get back to work.
Oh yeah, I go on the weekends and stuff, and it's fun, and it's my job or whatever. But the real job starts when I get back home and gotta take the trash out, do the dishes, cook and clean, a little bit of everything.
When you step back home, are you number 3 in the world, or is she number 1 in the household?
She's number one. She's number 1, and I'm just a chump.
Hey, I don't think that ever changes, and I think that's good. As my wife says, she's the CEO of this household, and I'm like, yes, ma'am. Unfortunately, I don't knock out my duties. Well, I mean, you guys, it's been a long season. It's been a long tour. It culminates in these next 2 weeks. I mean, how do you keep your one? I'm sure you guys are ready for the tour to be over in a sense, but you're also excited about the ability to claim that title number 1 over these next 2 weeks. How do you stay in it over these next few days?
Me mentally, I just try to stay even kiltered and not get too high or too low, and just go with it, because our bodies know what to do when we're riding bulls, and it's really simple. And it's when you get to thinking about it when it gets hard, and I try to just stay even kiltered and just go with the flow, and if I have to go do this or that throughout the day, then so be it. It's not a big deal. I'm just loving life and spend time with family and friends, and it's pretty easy. It's what I love doing, so it's it doesn't really bother me much.
Now, are you traveling with him throughout the tour, or do you stay home sometimes?
Because we have our daughter who's about to
Yes.
be 2, I don't travel a whole lot unless it's like a really close event, just because I don't really like to leave her. Every now and then she'll stay with our parents, and I'll go with him, and it'll just be us 2. But for the most part, I don't go just a whole lot.
Yeah.
Just every now and then.
And it's hard, sometimes when they do go, having a little one, because it's such a strict schedule that, we got to tend to her and all that. And if it's just me, I can just do what I want and, eat when I want, eat where I want and stuff like that. Or if it's just her and I, we're adults, so it's a lot easier that we don't have a nap time that we have.
Yeah.
Kids are a whole lot. Everyone, people want kids, and I'm like, okay, just, this is what it comes with. I don't think you can ever truly realize it until it happens. So, they introduced the team series. Interviewing a lot of you guys have been really positive about that. I mean, going from what was a traditionally individual sport to now having a team or a brotherhood. You're part of the Austin Gamblers. How has that experience been for you?
The whole team deal, I was super, I wasn't about it. I was like, this is dumb. This is an individual sport. I played football and basketball. I played a bunch of team sports growing up, but I was like, bull riding's not a team sport, and I wasn't too excited about it. And I first got drafted to the Kansas City Outlaws, and anyways, we just quite couldn't come to terms, contract-wise, and so Austin Gamblers traded for me and picked me up, and I really found a home there, and it's become a team deal that I'm like, dang. Right when I was having some of the most fun I've had riding bulls, it turned back into the regular season, and so it's something that I'm looking really forward to, and I'm excited about here coming up.
So you're going up against a lot of your teammates, namely Jose. You two are number 2 and number 3 in the world. I mean, when you see Jose, what do you say? Hey, man, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to just whoop your ass.
I'm constantly talking shit to him and stuff. But, I don't think very many people know this. He wears a fanny pack, so I give him some shit about that. Anyways,
it's very Brazilian.
Yeah, it is. I think. Anyways. At events, I'll ask him if he brought his fanny pack and stuff, and told him that he wouldn't be having to put a buckle in his fanny pack this year and stuff. So
that's good, friendly competition.
I got him.
Yeah, you're getting inside his head. Well, congrats, guys. I know you said you're coming up, on 2 with your daughter. And what's her name?
Willow.
Willow. What a beautiful name. I know there's a component we were talking earlier that if you have an opportunity to ride, you're riding. And I know with my past profession, my wife didn't want me to go to war, but I was going. And there's this selfish nature of, it's part of our manhood, it's part of our identity. But we rarely, those in the arena, rarely can empathize with the families that got to watch. I mean, you watch this guy climb on top of a 1,500 pound to 2,000 pound bull. What's going through your head? Because the consequences.
Yeah. I think for me, Dalton and I have known each other for 10 years now. And so I grew up watching him get on bulls, and my brother rode bulls, and my family rodeoed and ranched. So this sport is not something new to me. It's something that I've grown up watching. I think, though, whenever it changed and it became a little more emotional for me is we were at an event in Fort Worth, and I was pregnant, and I saw him get knocked out. And that was pretty scary for me because I think that was one of the first times I had seen him in a wreck like that. And it's something that, honestly, I just pray about it, and sometimes at home I just won't get on and watch. I'll just look at the score and see like that. But I know that I think over time you just kind of, I hate saying you get used to it because you don't, but in a way.
Numb?
Yeah, because I've seen him, with a broken jaw. I've seen him completely destroy his elbow. He's had to have 2 groin surgeries. I mean, it's things like that, again, I hate saying that you get used to it, but in a way you do, and all I can do is, pray and stand with my faith, and that's all there is to it.
Do you also respect him for the fact that he knows the potential impacts or circumstances in that, you guys are a rare breed, dude. And cowboys, I had a few of your peer riders on. They talk about how cowboys, anyone can be a cowboy. It's about mindset. And you guys the common thread is you guys play hurt all the time. I mean, you redefine it. Football, people are like, hey, we play hurt. I'm like, No, go watch rodeo. Those guys are really hurt. And then they get back on top of, a 2,000-pound bull. Do you respect certain elements of that? Like just that no matter what, the worst, disaster in Texas could hit, but you're next to a guy who just will not accept no for an answer.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of respect for Dalton because he is extremely tough. I'm not just saying that because I'm married to him. I mean, it's just a fact. I've seen him get wrecked out and get up and walk out. And I'm like, dang, I would have been crying and never gotten up after that. So I do have a lot of respect for him for that. But it's so funny because he gets on these bulls and is not afraid or anything like that. But yet he's afraid of a roller coaster ride and heights. And I'm like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
So you won't go skydiving with me?
No. We've gotten in arguments about me not getting on a roller coaster with her. Not going to happen. I don't care. You can call me whatever name you want. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not getting on.
Isn't that the funniest thing, man? There's always, I don't want to say it's a kryptonite, but there's always like these guys that do these crazy things or women that do these crazy things, and then they're like, yeah, I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, I don't get nervous riding bulls and stuff. I say that if you're not a little bit nervous, you're not human. But I think that's what, makes people, it makes or breaks how good they are if they can get over that. But yeah, I'm not going to get over a roller coaster, so I don't care to.
And I know I think this series is going to be so successful, the ride coming out, really diving into the lives of the PBR riders. Is there, of course, the PBR fan base doesn't get to see him come home bruised and just tattered. And I mean, are there points where you look at him just sort of sitting on the side of the bed in pain where you're in tears?
Yeah, there's been a couple times that he's come home and it is just makes me so upset because his whole life is riding bulls and he loves it. And so to see him hurt, it is pretty hard. There has been a couple times that it has just really bothered me, and I feel so selfish because I'm not the one hurt, but yet I get so upset and sit there and try to cry in private. I'm like, why does this have to happen and that? And so it is hard to see him come home and have an injury and things like that. But again, honestly, Dalton has always been way level with things. He had to have when his second groin surgery came around, he just said, you know what, praise the Lord, that's just what's going to happen and that's what we're going to do and go on from there. And so I give a lot of credit to him because he does always stay pretty level, and I think it's helped me to be that way too. So that does make it easier when he comes home and he is hurt, of him just being like, praise the Lord, we're going to keep going on and I'm going to come back from this.
Dalton and your peers, in terms of drive, you guys are off the spectrum. And sometimes that can be an unhealthy thing as well because you're so laser focused. Would you ever think of ever telling your husband, your partner, like, no, we're not. You're not riding in this. You're not riding in this this upcoming this weekend.
That's a hard deal for me to be the one to say, no, you're not riding, because at the end of the day, it's Dalton's body, and he knows how hurt he is, and I leave that up to him to decide, you know what, is it actually worth it? I can sit down and we can just have a discussion about it, of saying, hey, is it worth it for you to get on? Like, what are you risking to do this? But I don't feel like I ever tell him, no, you are not getting on. I might just say, hey, really think about it and tell him I'm worried about you. But he has had some injuries and stuff, so he does know when to say no. I think now, when he was younger, it was a little more like, I don't care, I'm going to go ahead and get on. But now he does say, okay, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I don't think she's ever told me, no, you're not getting on. But we will have conversations, and you can kind of see where she's leaning towards.
Yes, she takes the subtle, indirect,
But like she said, she leaves it up to me mainly, and it's my decision at the end of the day, and whether she agrees with it or not, it's, she leaves it up to me.
And you're also trying to take care of your family.
And I'm trying to take care of my family. That's some of the problem or why we want to get on and stuff, is because that's how we make our living. With wife and kid at home, I feel like I have to, be successful and go each weekend to, make money and have an income coming in for them, because I'm trying to support them and stuff. And so it's not so much pressure, but, I'm trying to take care of them, and also I'm getting to do what I love. And so you mix them two together, and it's really hard to just sit at home. And you do push through a lot of injuries because of that.
Do you know how many people in the United States and in the world struggle because they go to work and they have no passion for what they do? I mean, do you recognize how lucky he is?
Oh, yeah.
And you had to work for that. You're not lucky. I mean, you worked for that.
Yeah, it's not a job to me, really. It's something that I engulf myself in every day. I have bulls and cows and stuff we take care of each and every day, and it's what I truly love. And it's been a blessing to be able to be around it each and every day, and be able to make a living doing something that I love.
It's got to be a good feeling to see young cowboys and cowgirls coming up and wanting his signature and asking for a picture. I mean, that's got to put a smile on your face.
Oh, yeah. I grew up, my family ranches, and my dad trains cutting horses and stuff, and so the cowboy lifestyle is something that I'm pretty used to. And so it is so neat to see Dalton wanting to live that life too, and other people come up and them telling him that he's inspired them and that they want to be a cowboy or things like that. It doesn't feel real sometimes. I'm like, that's my husband. That's pretty cool.
Well, Dalton, Peyton, I can't thank you guys enough. Just to give a behind-the-scenes look at how it impacts the families. I'm excited for the next 2 weeks, man. I know you're like you and Jose. Everyone's like, those two are gunning for it. Any which way it ends up, man, congrats on all the success. Congrats on the birth of Willow now coming on too. Guys, anything you need from us in the Men's Journal family, don't hesitate to ask.
Yes,
all right, guys. We'll see you again. And welcome back to the Men's Journal Everyday Warrior. I'm your host, Mike Sorelli. I'm here with Blake Sharp from Columbus, Mississippi. You are a Buck and Bulls breeder. Did I do that correctly?
I would say so, yes, sir.
Okay. How did you get into the business?
So I grew up in it. Dad had bulls when I was a little kid, and growing up around them, even in school, when I got a little older, I started hauling a few myself to local deals and just trying to get hands-on and get the experience, and then playing football and then coming back to it. When I come back to it after playing ball, I just went full force.
Full force.
Yeah.
Family business, it's in the blood. Football, you played at East Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
You guys won the national championship.
Yes, sir.
What position?
Right tackle.
Right
Offensive
tackle. Offensive tackle. Okay, and then
Take
you went to
quarterback.
no kidding, and then went to Louisiana Tech and played there as well.
Yes, sir.
Massive program. Which Louisiana Tech, Terry Bradshaw.
Yes.
We had him on the podcast. He was great, man. Since I've gotten to dive into the PBR, a lot of the American public have this misperception that these bulls are mistreated when actually they probably lead better lives than most Americans for how they're tended to, diet, everything. Give us a snapshot of or an explanation of like what goes into breeding these bulls, how they're treated, all that.
Like at our program, we take the best of care of them. I mean, they get the best of the food, the grain, the hay, water. We want to make sure they have clean water. Everything that goes into them at the ranch is 100% the best. We're not going to give them anything that they don't need, and it's always the best of the best. So
why is there this misinformation out there that these bulls are mistreated when actually these bulls have longer lifespans than ones that are not competing that usually end up going to the slaughterhouse for?
I think it's just people on the outside looking in, but they're not actually getting in, and actually seeing. They're just, it's a misconception. They're just looking at something from the outside saying it's this way and that way, then the rumor spreads, and, it's just not true,
Yeah. What determines whether a bull becomes, I guess, they're elite athletes,
Oh, yeah.
as elite in what a lot of people that don't follow the PBRs, they have their own fan bases.
That's right.
Like these bulls become famous themselves. What's the differentiator between a bull that makes it to the professional level and those that don't?
So to get to this level, I mean, it's just like an athlete, playing football, going to the NFL, getting drafted. To get to the NFL is like getting to the PBR as a bull standpoint, So there's not very many of them out there that can get to this level. Like I hauled around 40 head of bulls throughout the season, and only 14 made it here, and then we just bought another one, which makes 15. But at the end of the day, those other bulls that are at home, they didn't have exactly what they needed to get to this.
Is it like a size component and then like how they conduct themselves?
Yeah, it's more like effort, putting out the effort and the heart of one, and the kick, the snap, the speed. It's all judged, and if they're not bringing it every time, they can't make it here.
So your company alone has 15 in the PBR.
Yes, sir.
Is
this
that,
weekend.
Is that one of the highest? Are you the leading?
Second.
Second?
Yeah.
Is it now within the bucking bull business? Is there a good, healthy competition as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that brought just a handful, and then there's like me and 3 or 4 other guys that brought over 10 or around 10 head or more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. I mean, it's not easy to do.
No, I wouldn't imagine so. What bull just had your utmost respect that did well in the PBR? Is there one that specifically stands out that was your favorite?
It's hard to say there's a favorite, but as far as like personality and the way he carries himself,
Smokestack.
And he was the 2022 PRCA World Champion bull last year. So he's just special, man. You can walk up to him and pet him, and he just loves it. He's not mean. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body, but you run him into the chute, he knows what to do.
Is it just when you put him in the chute, it's like it's a switch that just flips?
No. Like you're sitting here talking to me, but you line me up against another lineman, I'm fixing to give it everything I got. But it's the same thing. He may come off as just laid back, kind of cool and collected, and then you roll him into the chute, and he's ready. Game on, game time.
That makes sense. Talking to John Wellborn is on our show. He was offensive lineman for Kansas City and the Eagles, 8 to 10 seasons. But he said he's the nicest guy. He's like, almost all the guys I played with in the NFL are nice guys. But when you line me up, I want to hurt you. Physically, they don't want to hurt people, but they're going to.
But you got to have that mindset.
Yeah. It's. I guess it's no different in terms of personality. On the ranch, that must be hilarious.
It is.
Some play well with others, and some just don't play well with anyone.
Yeah, some of them don't like you touching them.
Really?
They're standoffish, and then you got Legend. Legend's he's number 3 bull in the world right now. He's more like a deer. Like you can put your hand out, and he's like checking you out, and if he likes you, he thinks you're cool, he'll walk over there
and let you touch him.
Yeah, and let you kind of touch him, but he won't turn sideways. He always wants to face you. So it's a little different deal with him.
How much food do these?
Roughly 15 to 25 pounds a piece a day.
A day.
That's
insane.
Of grain. The hay, probably a couple pounds to 10 pounds of hay, just depending on the bull. And I may like Smokestack, I may leave his hay in there all day.
Yeah.
And then Legend, I may give him like a flake, a couple pounds of hay, and that's all he'll get, just from the dieting standpoint.
So you do have to monitor how much they eat, because some will just continue eating.
Some will just gorge themselves and get too big.
In terms of space, is it just letting them run around, or do you put them in the chute, or did you put people on their backs?
No, not at home. They these bulls, they get conditioned, 2 or 3 times a week, getting outside, running, playing, stuff like that. And then I do a big dirt pile, full big truckload of dirt so they can play in. And it's really like a play box for them. When they see that big mound of dirt, they just want to go play in it and jump and kick and throw it up in the air, and it's pretty wild to see.
It's they're being their natural selves, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is they do enjoy that aspect.
They do.
Yeah. What is the average I guess, lifespan in terms of how many seasons do they usually last?
I'd say, as far as at this level,
Yeah.
I'd say probably 4 to 12 maximum
Seasons?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
12 years old. That'll be about the max.
Yeah. And then they just sort of, they're in their downhill
Yeah,
legs.
they're a lot like a dog and a horse. I mean, dogs 15 years at the most usually.
Yeah.
So it sucks that it is that way, but it's part of God's creation.
It is. Well, Blake, it's a fascinating story. I know we're going to get a back scene look at these beautiful animals here shortly, but I can't thank you enough. Who are you excited? Or let me finish with this. Who's your prediction on both sides? Who do you think is going to pull out being the number one, both bull and rider?
Well, I got to pull for our bull Legend.
Yes.
He's got a good chance to win it. And then rider-wise, it's going to be hard to beat Lemmy. I think Lemmy's going to come in here swinging. But also Dalton Castle.
Number 2 and number 3. That one's going to be interesting, man.
Yes.
Yeah, and teammates as well on the.
And I sure hate that Kayake broke his leg.
Yeah.
That's a big, because I thought he would come in here and probably get it done. But
especially with the 74-point advantage. Yeah.
But it's bull riding and it happens.
And man, all these guys play hurt, and that's what's impressive, man.
Yes, sir.
There's no stopping them.
Yes, sir.
Well, dude, Blake, I can't thank you enough, man. And best of luck in the finals. And yeah.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. We'll see you again.